So just as we can train our bodies for strength, we can train our mind for resilience. So I had a question from someone in my Facebook group. How do I conquer negative self-talk? So in this video, we're going to be exploring this topic. We'll explore why negative self-talk happens, how it impacts people with chronic health conditions like ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID, and actionable strategies to help you break it and support your healing. So if you have chronic conditions like the ones I've just mentioned, then you need to acknowledge it is challenging, and it's understandable if sometimes your thinking isn't helpful and you recognise that. It's understandable if you feel frustrated and if you start generating unhelpful thoughts like, I'll never get well. So I want to introduce the concept of the mental gym so that you can train your mind for resilience. And I speak as someone who used to be very good at generating fear and anxiety and unhelpful thoughts. So why do we engage in negative self-talk? What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the chat whether you're watching live or replay. Do feel free to say hello. And if you don't know me, my name is Simon Pimenta. I had MECFS fibromyalgia for 8-9 years. And at one point I couldn't walk for 1 minute. And I went back to working full-time and living an active life. Slowed down a little bit due to an injury, but life is still great. So, yeah, what are your thoughts about why we engage in negative self-talk? If you're watching the replay, pause the video, just have a think about that. Let me know. I'll be interested in what you think the reasons are. Okay? So, it can be a survival mechanism. Negative self-talk can be the brain's way of preparing for worst case scenarios. But we can get stuck in that pattern. So, for example, I've given this example before. If I'm going for a walk in the Lake District, I might think of what are the worst case scenarios. It might rain, I might get hungry, I might get cold, so I'll take waterproofs, I'll take food and a hot drink. I'll tell people where I'm going, and therefore I can now enjoy the experience. It wouldn't make sense to be thinking, oh no, am I going to break my leg as I'm walking? Am I going to get stuck in a bog? That wouldn't be helpful, all right? So that's the first thing, can be a survival mechanism. Number two, if you just joined, do say hello. Feel free to let me know where you are in the world. If you've got a chronic health challenge, then having a long-term illness can result in us feeling cycles of hopelessness due to symptoms, due to societal stigma, and feeling misunderstood. Excuse me. It can be a learned pattern. We may have experienced messages in the past from others that have reinforced self-doubt and fear-based thinking. Maybe we've been taught not to show our emotions. So we don't build our emotional vocabulary and the ability to be aware of, acknowledge, accept, feel, and process emotions and take appropriate action. And this discomfort around our emotions can result in us being more comfortable in our head. And that can result in, people overthinking, overanalyzing as a way of running away from emotions. Okay, so if emotions are uncomfortable, we can disconnect from them and, develop our mental faculties in a way that's not helpful. It can be as a result of a dysregulated nervous system. Chronic illness can amplify that dysregulation, which can result in more fear responses, making negative thinking more persistent. One useful thing to embrace is that our thoughts, the word thoughts is a noun, and it gives us this idea that our thoughts have a permanence that they don't actually have. Okay, we should say I'm thinking, all right, because then we can recognize I'm thinking about this, I could think about that instead. All right, we can change our thinking. All right. So, some common negative self-talk examples. I'd really be interested in finding out what are the things that you say to yourself on a persistent, consistent basis that you recognise are limiting in some way. You know, I've worked with many clients who say, oh, I'll never get better. That's what they think at some point. I'm a burden to others. I can't do anything right. It's my fault I'm sick. What I'd like to say about all those statements, about those 4 statements, is number one, first statement, it's untrue. Second statement is untrue. Third statement is untrue. Fourth statement is untrue. Okay? I don't embrace the notion that it's impossible to get better. I believe it's absolutely possible for you to make progress towards your health goals and experience recovery. Okay? You're not a burden to others. It's not true you can't do anything right. It's not your fault you got sick. You were doing your best. Okay? It might be that you just didn't have... If I think about my experience of getting sick, I didn't have the mental resilience to avoid getting sick. I didn't have the mindset and lifestyle behaviours that would have supported a healthy lifestyle. Okay, so I had to learn them as a result of going off sick for 8-9 years. All right. So whilst this kind of thinking is part of the experience, they're not facts. All right. I'd also invite you to consider that we sometimes have amnesia. I was talking about this morning in a resilience group coaching session, that we experience a setback, a dip, maybe a crash, and we forget in that moment, because we're overwhelmed by the emotions and the sensations, the symptoms in our body, we forget that we will recover. We will come out of this dip, crash. Okay? So we forget the evidence that encourages optimism. I really encourage people to have a personal handbook, and you write down anything that you find helpful. For instance, I remember one time I was experiencing a bit of a dip. I was feeling very fluey, and I did certain things that actually that surprised me, because I came out of that dip crash more quickly than I thought was possible. And I did think, I should have written them down, because I forgot what they were. So after that, I started writing things down that I found helpful. So let's talk about strategies to combat negative self-talk. I can see some people are dipping in and out, so I just want to check my internet connection. Looks good my end. All right, so let's talk about some strategies to combat negative self-talk. And I want to introduce the mental gym workout. Okay, so general principles, you have to do the reps. Okay, now that doesn't mean making it a chore. Your job, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to find ways of keeping it fresh, making it fun. Okay, consider whether routines are helpful for you. Some people like routines, some people are more spontaneous. Use your judgment, but just consider that when we have routines, it can create feelings of safety. One of the reasons why children have routines is it helps them feel safe. Okay, it's really important that we get out of our head and do things to engage our mind and body. It might be having a connection with a friend, having a brief conversation on the phone, being part of a community like a supportive Facebook group. You're welcome to join my group. I will put the link below this video where you can share your experience, share insights and wisdom, etc. So I want to share 5 strategies, and actually I have created first of all a little handout for you, and if you're watching on YouTube, the link is below this video. All right, so I might change the link later because I've updated this little handout. So if you want that though, click on the link below this video and it covers what I'm about to talk about. And I've also created a video which is about how to respond to unhelpful thoughts. So very briefly, this video encourages you to identify whether you're having a conversation with your unhelpful thoughts, whether you're fighting your unhelpful thoughts, or whether you are just observing them without getting connected to them. All right, so watch that video because I share a little strategy for helping you let go of those unhelpful thoughts and adopt a more mindful approach. Okay, so do check out that video. Again, I'll pop the link below this video. So the first strategy is to become aware of your self-talk. Okay, so just notice the negative thinking without judgment. Consider that instead of focusing on that thought, you could focus on your reaction to that thought. Okay, so practice naming the thought or the thinking. Oh, this is my inner critic speaking. You might give that part of you a name. I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago that one of my colleagues, Mind Body Reconnect colleagues, called that part something like Wally the wanker, something like that. It was very funny. You might come up with a term that's more compassionate. You know, just recognizing that that part of you that has those scary thoughts is like your wounded self. Okay, and that part needs some love. I do teach a strategy called the See It method in my Building Resilience course, which is about getting to know that part, and people find it really helpful and it helps them shift their state. I walked someone through that exercise yesterday who was really stuck, and they found that they made a big shift. Okay, so if you want to know more about the Building Resilience course, just let me know and I'm happy to have a chat with you, tell you more. So you could turn that part of you into a character. Okay, and when it pops up, you just say, oh, hello you, I know you're trying to take care of me and ensure that I'm safe, but I've got this, you can relax. Okay, I talked in another video that I did recently about changing our response from oh no, that part of me showed up, to okay, no big deal. All right, you can get curious about what that part of you is trying to do for you. You can get curious about what are the emotions here when I'm in my head that I'm avoiding. Okay, practice tuning in. Check out my first video in the mini course. I will post a link below this video where I talk about a simple strategy for checking in. And do check out the posts that I've done very recently this week or in the last week or two on TikTok on listening. Okay, we need to get really good at listening. So second strategy is mindset shifts. So firstly, reframe with compassion. So shift beliefs, I'll never get well, to I'm focusing on small steps towards my health. Use self-compassion phrases like, I'm doing the best I can at the moment. Instead of this is permanent, this is temporary. Okay? As I say, instead of oh no, okay, this part of me has just popped up. Second part of the mindset shift is to gather evidence that challenges those beliefs. You know, I was chatting to a couple of people this week about their symptoms, and we explored whether those symptoms fluctuated, and they recognised they did. And actually, I will be making a video about one of my clients who gave some great feedback about how she really made a shift by using certain strategies. So that's the video that I'm going to release on Monday, because she made massive shifts in one day. All right. She recognizes the challenge is to keep up those practices that she decided to adopt for that one day. All right. But they made a massive difference. All right. So by recognizing, exploring, being curious about the fluctuation in symptoms, we can recognize, okay, sometimes my symptom sensations go up, sometimes they come down. And we get curious about why they go up, why they go down. And that can give us some useful information. Okay. So another strategy is to write the thoughts down. Okay, get them out of your head. What's very interesting, there is evidence that when we journal, write things down, it helps us process our experience. And I had this practice of writing it down and then deciding, well, I've had that thought today, or I've done that thinking today. I'm going to do some different thinking. All right. As I say, remind yourself this is temporary. Another strategy some people like is to schedule worry. I'm going to worry for this amount of time, 5 minutes every day or 10 minutes, and then I'm really going to focus on doing other stuff. And when I do worry, I'm going to think about what is some action I can take. So the next strategy is to practice nervous system regulation. Practice simple breathing exercises. In the little handout that is I've linked below this video, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, just comment handout and I will share the link with you. There's a link to 7 breathing exercises that you can do. Okay, you can do simple strategies like humming, gargling, gently moving your body. Okay, these are ways of activating or getting your mind to focus on something other than all that thinking. All right, 4th strategy is daily gratitude practice. Just to think of 3 things that you're grateful for. Okay, make time for that. Put that in your gentle schedule. All right. Again, research shows that gratitude has benefits, and people who practice gratitude are more optimistic and more happy. That's what the research shows. 5th strategy is to affirm, to identify some statements that you can say to yourself that feel reasonable and true, okay, that just support a better way of thinking. So when I had MECFS, at one point I decided that I wanted to train as a hypnotherapist, and then I had a panic attack for about 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks solid, where I was panicking. And so I decided to just say to myself useful phrases like, I trust in my mind and body's incredible healing power. I trust in my ability to make decisions that support me. There was a 3rd one, I've written it down, can't remember it at the moment, but it is in the handout, so do check out that handout. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. I'm just going to take a drink, but what is your takeaway from what I've shared? And if you've joined, do feel free to say hello. It's always lovely to know who's here. But what's one action you can take? What's one takeaway? What's one action? Feel free to put a comment in the chat. I haven't seen any comments yet, so I'm just going to check that yeah, it is working. So don't be shy. I'm really interested in your thoughts. Okay, as I say, below the video on YouTube is a downloadable workbook, okay, which is your mental gym workout. So, in closing, awareness, compassion, those daily practices can really help you shift your thinking. I was a person who was very anxious. Samantha says hi, nice to have you with us, Samantha. If I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, you're from Liverpool, is that right? So awareness, compassion, mental gym practice can help rewire our brain. Okay, it can take time, it can take reps, but it is possible and it is worth it. Okay, consider that you've survived every hard, challenging day so far. So you are stronger than you think. So Samantha says, I've just looked at the mental gym sheet and it looks great. I will definitely use this. So thanks for the feedback. Really appreciate that. Let me just see if we've got anything else I want to say. I think that's it for now. If you've got any questions, then get in touch. Let me know. And as I say, I'd really be interested in your feedback. I appreciate you leaving a comment below this video. It helps other people find the video. If you do find the video useful, do share it. If you like more tips, you're welcome to join my Facebook group. I will put the link below this video. If I haven't done it already, I might have done it already. And if you would like to go faster, then get in touch and we can have a no obligation, no cost chat and explore what help you need. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining in. Samantha says thank you loads. You are very welcome. Keep going, keep daring to dream big dreams. You are worth it. Show up as your awesome, brilliant self. Wishing you great health. Bye for now.